If you are thinking about moving to the Bellingham, Washington area, and specifically you're considering the Columbia neighborhood, well, today is your lucky day because I'm going to be sharing with you all things Columbia neighborhood. And this neighborhood is special. If I could use one word to describe the Columbia neighborhood, the word is character. You go to the dictionary, look under character, it's going to say Columbia neighborhood, Bellingham, Washington. Because there is no two houses alike. There's no two streets alike. There's no two lots alike. There's so much diversity here in terms of housing types and architecture and the way everything's laid out. It is so cool. It is definitely one of the most sought after neighborhoods here in Bellingham. It is a neighborhood full of community and vibrancy and connection. And you're gonna find people as different as the houses are here in the Columbia neighborhood. So today we're gonna talk about the pros of the Columbia neighborhood and the cons. Can't believe there are some cons, but there are, depending on what you're looking for in a home and in a neighborhood. So let's take a deep dive today in Columbia. Stay tuned. My name's Tim Cornwell, and I am so excited that you've joined me here today. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you my knowledge and experience about our local area so that you can have the information you need to make the best decision on whether or not the Columbia neighborhood is right for you. So the house right behind me, that little Rambler right there, was sold out last summer. I had that as a listing and sold it for $600,000, little 3-bedroom, 1-bath Rambler. And so there is hope if you are on the lower end of the budget spectrum. But prices here are anywhere from that price range, you know, 500s to a little over $1 million. Now, if you get over there on Eldridge, where you're going to get those bigger Victorian homes that look over Bellingham Bay, those can go up to, I mean, once in a while you'll see a $2 million sale over there, but probably on the water side, you're not going to see anything for less than $1 million. Homes prices throughout Columbia neighborhood, a lot of things that factor into that are square footage. How big is the home? How many bedrooms? Standard, you know, metrics for any pricing any home in any neighborhood. But the other factor would be like age of the home. If you get a brand new construction compared to an older house that's over 100 years old, it's definitely that new construction is going to be more valuable than the older home. But one of the things that really helps this neighborhood hold value is the community that it is. All of those positive factors that I talked about earlier in terms of walkability, proximity to parks, proximity to shopping, proximity to schools. We've got Columbia Elementary right in the middle of the neighborhood, and the front porches, the character homes, the quietness, the safety. All those factors go into creating price stability. If you're thinking about making a long range move and you want to set down your roots, you know, I really can't think of a neighborhood that would be better to do that than the Columbia neighborhood. This is a great place to establish yourself in the Bellingham community. You will meet a lot of other people here who have the same values that you do for community, for safety, for valuing the little things in life. So it's a very stable neighborhood. We have lower inventory here than other neighborhoods in town, and our dollar per square foot is higher than a lot of the other neighborhoods just because of the demand, because of the unique character, and all the other qualities we talked about earlier. So highly stable neighborhood, highly desirable. That's Columbia. One of the pros about the Columbia neighborhood is walkability, and this is the Fountain District right here. It's a corner hub here in the Columbia neighborhood. There's basically a main intersection here. It's Meridian, Girard, let's see, Broadway is right here. So it's a pretty major intersection, but it is walkable from a good part of Columbia neighborhood. I have someone letting me walk across the street. Such a friendly community, I tell you. These people in Columbia neighborhood, they're so polite. So, so you can, you know, Though way on the other side of Columbia neighborhood, yeah, it's a little bit of a hike. You're going to want to jump on your bike to walk over here, but most folk in the neighborhood can walk down here to Columbia. We've got some cool restaurants. We've got little shops. There's a Nation Market here. We've got Banks, Cascade Pizza, Zeke's Pizza. We've got Menace Brewery. So there's a real variety. There's a great furniture store down here. It's been here forever. There's a little store called the Restore, where they sell all kinds of reuse items, recycling, reuse, all that kind of stuff. So yes, very walkable. That is definitely a pro to be able to get down here. And then a little further down, there is a big grocery store, the Hagen's grocery store. So that's a pro, man. I like being able to walk, go down, get a beverage, get a hamburger, get a pizza, walk home, watch the game. That's pretty sweet. One of the star attractions of the Columbia neighborhood is Elizabeth Park. It is very walkable. It's kind of over in the Fountain District area, which is the southeast corner of the neighborhood. So for some people, it's a very short walk. Other people probably going to want to jump on their bike and come on over here. But it is a focal point of the neighborhood throughout the year. A lot of different events and activities happen here. We've got tennis courts, we've got a kids playground, we've got a little gazebo, big grassy area, park benches, big mature trees. It is a fantastic place to come and have a picnic, propose to your fiance, or I guess they won't be a fiance until you propose to your significant other until they say yes, and then they're your fiance. So great place to come. Let's just take a quick walk through. And, you know, again, trail systems here in Bellingham, we definitely have that down pat. But great little picnic tables and benches, big kids playground right there on the other side of that, a couple of tennis courts, got the gazebo over there, and then got a couple people playing basketball. And these mature trees are epic. They're so beautiful. We've got some evergreens, we've got some maples. I mean, these trees have got to be 150, 200 years old. I don't know, 200? That might be a stretch, but they're old. They are old, big, beautiful trees that are magnificent. So it is such a gift to have a park like this within walking distance of your home. And this is one of the things that makes the Columbia neighborhood a desirable place to live. Walkability, walk to Elizabeth Park. Can you imagine just like, ooh, hey, let's run down to Elizabeth Park, play some pickleball, bing, 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 get all hot and sweaty, come home, shower up, and head off to work. Or on the weekends, let's go do something fun. So pickleball is a big deal here in the Pacific Northwest. Bellingham, we love pickleball, and there's 2 courts right there, empty. I cannot believe it. What's going on? Okay, Walkability Bellingham, Elizabeth Park. I absolutely love all the different types of homes in the Columbia neighborhood. The different styles, architecture, eras that they were built. There's no 2 houses alike in this neighborhood. If you want a character home and that no one else has, you'll find it in the Columbia neighborhood. So let's just walk along here. So this house right here, it's actually a 3-unit multifamily building right now. It was probably originally a single family home, but it's been converted into multifamily. Generally speaking though, most of the houses along here are going to be single family detached homes. They're not going to be multifamily. That occasionally you will see a little duplex or something like that in the neighborhood. But as you can see, you know, craftsman style right there, another craftsman style. Most of the homes were built here, oh gosh, I'm going to say from early 1900s up to probably the 1960s, 70s. And then you do see people with new builds here in the neighborhood. Typically they'll buy an old house that may or may not need to be torn down, but they have a vision of what they want to build here. And you do see occasionally some new construction. Sometimes people will move a home. I've seen that happen here in Columbia. They'll have a beautiful old Victorian home, and for whatever reason they'll set it on blocks, jack it up, and move it to another lot. So, like I said, as you can see as I'm walking along here, no two houses are alike. Pretty special neighborhood, and that is definitely a pro here in the Columbia neighborhood. Now, you know, while I'm here, I'm also going to talk about how that kind of is a con, because these houses are typically, most of them are pretty old. Like I said, they're built early 1900s, maybe to the 1960s. And with that, you get, let's say those are 100-year-old houses, basically. And with 100-year-old houses, you get 100-year-old problems. You get old electrical systems, potentially, plumbing systems, what's, you know, in the wall in terms of wiring. Foundations can be problematic as well. So that is just something to be mindful of when you're buying a home in the Columbia neighborhood. Is just because it's a character home and you fall in love with it, you want to make sure that you do a proper inspection and make sure that those key mechanical functioning parts of the house are in good order. And then you also want to be mindful of health and safety issues, asbestos, knob and tube wiring, those kind of things. So while they are very charming, they can sometimes come with hidden defects that will need to be addressed. Okay, like I said, no two houses are alike here in Columbia. Charm times 10 is what you got. But what I wanted to point it out here along this street, I'm just going to walk along, and obviously you'll notice the different architectural styles, but there is one common theme that you will find on a lot of the streets as you walked through Columbia, is front porches. And that is, to me, that is so heartwarming, and it builds so much community, because the idea is, hey everybody, let's face the street, let's look over to our neighbors, let's have a cup of coffee and be able to talk to people that are walking by, walking their dogs, walking their, you know, pushing their kids in strollers, call your neighbor across the street. It just invites community when you have front porches. And so pretty much on the backside of every one of the streets here in the Columbia neighborhood is an alley. And some of the alleys have a little bit of room for parking for each individual home, but I do love a good front porch, and I do love, people just like to have a good time. So that is a foosball table built into their front yard. Oh my gosh, I love that. Columbia Greens Community Mini Golf. Oh, that is not only foosball, that is a little mini golf hole right there. Come on, let's have a good time with that. Oh, okay. I have never noticed this before, but we have got to make comments about this, because here's another hole right across the street, and I can see him now up and down the street. There's a little golf course here. This is awesome. I love it. Right in your own front yard. Just tee off any old time. Yeah, it does. That is amazing. I love it. Good job, guys. Okay, so community, front porches, and putt-putt golf. Like, that builds community too. Get creative, right? All right, so right behind me, that is Carl Loeb Park. And again, walkability, charm, kind of combining a lot of pros together, community. But you can just see how this neighborhood has all of these built-in elements where community can naturally occur between the parks, the walkability to the sidewalks, the front porches, mini golf now. Pretty darn awesome. All right, so we've talked about all the pros of the Columbia neighborhood, and oh, there's so many. This is such a great place. And if you feel like Columbia neighborhood is right for you, before we talk about the cons and you want to have a conversation, my contact information is below. Go ahead and, you know, set up an appointment, give me a call, shoot me a text. Let's talk about if the Columbia neighborhood is the right fit for you and put some plans together. All right, so now we're going to talk about the cons. of the Columbia neighborhood. One of the cons about the Columbia neighborhood is that the lot sizes are pretty small, and generally the houses are smaller as well. So most of the lots are about 50 feet wide by about 100 feet deep, so that gives you a 5,000 square foot lot. Then there's a really weird lot size on a lot of these lots, it's 3,742 square feet. So they're all pretty tiny. And generally speaking, what you'll see is an alley in the back, and then out in front, is where your parking is. So when it comes to parking, it's a little bit of a challenge because generally most of the houses don't have 2-car garages out in front or in back. If you have covered parking of any kind in Columbia neighborhood, that is definitely a premium and rare. If you live in the Columbia neighborhood, you know your cars are going to be parked outside in the elements year round. You're going to be either parking on the street, like right here, or you're going to be parked in the alley somehow. That is a challenge if you have a lot of vehicles, or if you have an expensive vehicle that you don't want to get rained on and snowed on, and a lot of, like this time of year, a lot of pollen falls on cars. So also with the houses, they're a little bit smaller, right? So small lot, smaller house, because you have to be able to fit it on the footprint of that lot. So what that means is you don't have a lot of yard room. So they don't have huge yards here in the Columbia neighborhood. Now, once in a while, you'll see a double lot and they'll get a big yard. But generally speaking, people that live here, they're really maximizing the limited space they have. People love to garden, do a lot with shrubs and potted plants, of a nice little deck or patio on back, but it is on the smaller side. So if you're somebody that wants, hey, I want a really big 3,500 square foot house, 2-3-car garage, I want a big yard and a big deck, Columbia neighborhood's not going to work for you. That doesn't really exist here. Another con about the neighborhood is price point. Now you would think with the smaller lots and the smaller homes, things would be more affordable. That's not really the case here because there's so much demand and this neighborhood is so highly sought after, it pushes prices up. So classic supply and demand. You have a lot of demand, prices are going to be higher. So really, even a little starter home here in the neighborhood, let's say is 1,200 square foot, 2 to 3 bedroom, you're going to be at least $600,000 and then on up. Over $1 million is not uncommon in the neighborhood, especially out on Eldridge. If you get any of those Bellingham Bayview homes, you're going to easily be over $1 million, maybe closer to the $2 million range. But the challenge is, wow, I'm going to spend $600,000, $700,000 on a 2-bedroom, 1,100 square foot house. That's a lot. Now, for those that can afford it, if you're in that price range and you want character and the smaller lot doesn't bother you, then hey, this is going to be great. But again, the con is the homes here are priced a little bit higher. The other one is there's not a lot of selection. There's about 36 homes a year that come on the market here in Columbia. And so that price range anywhere from 600 to $1 million to maybe $2 million. It's like, oh my goodness, if you're in the $800,000 price range, there's not a lot of selections out of those 36 homes that come on the market. So if you're shopping in the Columbia neighborhood, you have to be very aggressive when the house comes on the market that you're looking for. So that's the Columbia neighborhood, the pros and the cons. And if you think the Columbia neighborhood is right for you, let's have a conversation about it. My contact information is below. If after looking at everything I've talked about here in Columbia, you're like, nah, it's not quite the right fit for you, and you'd like to know about other neighborhoods, well, take a look at my channel. Got tons of content about other neighborhoods. Let's have a conversation about it as well. Whether you're thinking about moving next week, next month, or next year, let's start the process right now to getting to know each other and putting a plan together what really makes sense for you as you think about moving to Bellingham. Again, if you found value in this channel, please like this video, subscribe to the video, hit the notifications button, and you'll get notified every time I put out new content. I look forward to connecting with you and helping you find your next place here in Bellingham and beyond.